Welcome to Handi Quilter Watch and Learn. Today we're on take 2 of Kristina's Blues project. I'm Kim Sandberg. I'm a studio educator at Handi Quilter, and with me today is
Kristina Whitney, another studio educator here at Handi Quilter.
And Kristina, we're like starting to move along here on this, as we're calling it right now, the working title, the Blues Project. So tell us what we're doing today.
Well, we are going to use the Pro Stitcher Designer program to create a digitized design for this 9-patch block.
This block right here. All right, awesome. I'm excited to see this because we get questions all the time. How do I create a custom block for the project I'm working on?
Put this picture of my quilt on the Handi Quilter Facebook group and got lots of suggestions of things that people wanted to learn and see how I do things.
Okay.
And one of them was that they wanted to see how I could digitize the design for a specific block. So I chose this 9-patch, and I wanted it so that it wasn't specific to the seam. I don't want to have points, like I don't want to have the design match perfectly with all of the corners and stuff, because my piecing is not perfect, and I'm going to use this design on several different blocks.
Perfect.
So I wanted something that would fill the space, but not necessarily have to hit certain points for this one.
I like that. I like that. The key being fill the space.
Fill the space.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
Okay. So we are going to go over to my designer screen.
All right.
And I want to zoom in a little bit. Now, just a little disclaimer, I'm going to go fairly fast with some of these things. This is not a tutorial how to do everything exactly how I'm doing it. We do have tutorials available on prostitcher.com that walk through some of these different functions. But I'm going to show how I combine different functions to create my designs. And this is just one way, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a triangle. This is a fun exercise that I like to do, and I like to show people how you can take the ugliest design and make it pretty, or a simple design. And so anyway, let's go ahead and get started with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on my Tools tab, and I want to click Line. And I am going to create a right triangle. But before I click on there, I'm going to right click up here on my ruler and make sure that my snap to grid is turned on. Okay, so that's going to, when I drop a point, it's going to snap it right to the grid line. Okay, so I'm going to drop 1 point, and I'm going to come over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do whatever number you want. Ooh, I didn't go down high. Oop, zoom in. Okay, now I lost count. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Drop a point and drop a point. Okay, I'm going to hit my space bar to bring that into view. Oops, let's right click. We're going to get rid of that point. Click on it and delete it. There we go. Okay, so I've got this triangle. The triangle is only giving me a space to work within. I'm not going to stitch it out or anything, but I want to have my design stitch inside that triangle.
So it's a guideline, essentially.
Exactly. Yep. It's my boundaries. Okay, I'm going to use the curve tool next. And I've already kind of come up with this idea. I doodled it, and I thought, oh, I kind of like this. So we're going to make it work, hopefully. So let's click on curve. And the key for this technique is I have to start in this bottom left-hand corner, and I have to end in this top right-hand corner.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to click here, and then you can do anything that you want in this in-between space. So I'm just going to make a little loop here. Oops, that didn't go where I wanted it, so I'm going to backspace. Sometimes I'll take the pencil tool and just draw crazy stuff there. Okay, I'm done with my drawing. I'm going to right-click to end that drawing. And I'm noticing if I zoom in here, I'm kind of going outside of my triangle. So what I want, oh, goodness. I want to go to my edit tool, and I'm going to pick this anchor point here, and I'm going to use my handle and just drag it down so that my line stays inside that triangle. And then I'm going to go down to the other end and do that same thing. I'm going to click on this anchor point, use my handle and drag it so it stays inside of that triangle. Okay, let's spacebar to refresh. How's that looking?
It looks really good.
Is that something that you think will stitch out really nicely on that block?
Well, it's definitely not going to fill the space, and I believe
Ooh.
that was the goal, right?
That is the goal.
I mean, I could
yes.
see that filling a half of one of the squares.
Yes, it's not going to really do much. Okay, so let's use some of our other fun tools.
Okay.
First thing I want to do though is I want to select that first triangle that I created and I want to delete it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done with it. That was just my space holder. And now I am left with this fabulous design that looks so fantastic. We're going to make it look better.
Okay.
So I want to use this reflect tool.
Oh, I know where you're going now.
Okay, look how fun that is.
Very cool.
So I could save that and use that as a block.
You could.
Okay, but I want to make it even better.
Yeah, because once again, that's not going to completely fill the space.
I mean, I can make it big enough to fill the space, but it won't be very dense.
Yeah,
quilting.
yeah.
But actually, I do have some smaller blocks in this quilt that I might save this design and put that in some of the smaller blocks to kind of carry the theme throughout the entire quilt. But for right now, I want to just use this original portion. That's the part that I designed, and then it mirrored and reflected, or mirrored and flipped. But I only want these top two.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn off the vertical reflection.
Ah,
So I just have two pieces that I'm going to work with, and I'm going to hit OK. Now if I go over to my sequence view and I do my little plus buttons to drop down, you'll notice I have two pieces of artwork here. So it's still two separate pieces. I've got two start points, two end points, and they might not necessarily be where I want them to be.
Yes.
I want these to continue to stitch continuously.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to select both of those artworks, and I'm going to connect them together using the Connect tool, or Control-T is the keyboard shortcut. Now when I do my little drop down, I only have one piece of artwork, and you'll notice I have a start over here, and I have an end over here.
Ooh, mission accomplished.
Okay, so we did that step. We're going to repeat everything I just did.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to start out with that triangle shape, but I'm not going to create another triangle. I'm just going to modify this one and rotate it till it's in the same orientation as that original triangle.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, see how that is there? Okay, now we're going to go right back into our tools. We're going to reflect it. Ooh, how's that look?
That's cool.
Okay, so I might want to save that as another block.
Yeah, and I could see that one. You're getting more of the, like, that one actually goes into all the corners, more of the idea of filling the whole thing. But I have a feeling you want to go a little further.
Yes, we learn by repetition, so let's do those same steps again. Okay, I'm going to turn off the vertical reflection.
Okay.
I'm going to hit OK. And again, over here, I've got two pieces of artwork.
Okay.
I'm going to select both of them and connect them together. Now I've got one piece.
Okay.
Do you remember what I do next?
Rotate.
Okay. Modify.
And then,
we're going to rotate it around.
and then reflect again, right?
Okay. Go back to our tools.
I was going to say rinse and repeat, but it's rotate and reflect. So rotate, reflect.
Okay, how's that one looking?
I'm really liking that. Once again, I can see how that's actually going to really fill the space.
Yep, I think I'm liking that one.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not going to turn off the vertical reflection this time. I'm going to leave both of those on, and I'm going to hit OK. Can you guess how many units I'm going to have in my sequence view?
You'll have 4, right?
I'm going to have 4.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to ungroup this so I can manipulate them separately.
Okay.
So, artwork number 1, that's the top left. Artwork 2 is the top right. Artwork number 3, bottom left. Artwork 4, bottom right.
That is not a good stitch order.
No. So one thing that I've noticed when digitizing is that the software cannot read my mind.
Really?
It does not know what I want it to do.
It does it for me. No, I'm just joking. Absolutely. I
Maybe my mind's just so off. No, nothing can read my mind. But I want it to actually stitch out in a counterclockwise direction, or a circular motion. Counterclockwise or clockwise, I don't care.
Start and end at the same point.
And I want it to be continuous, joining at each of these points.
Okay.
Okay, so if I were to say, let's select all of them and do a connect, it might connect them in weird ways.
True. Okay.
So I like to, in my designing, pick one item and then pick my second item and do my Control T, and now that's one unit. And I'm just going to build onto that in the order that I want it to connect and stitch.
Okay.
Okay, so right now I've got starting here and ending here.
Okay.
So I want to add this guy on next.
Okay.
Okay, so if I do number 2, that's the wrong one.
That's not the right one.
Okay, so I'm going to do number 1, hold my Control key, select number 2, and you'll notice that they turn kind of red when I have them selected. That's just a setting that I put on my computer. Not everybody's is going to do that.
Okay.
It just makes it more visually.
Well, it's easy for you to know which ones are selected, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
and people can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Control T those together.
Okay.
Okay, so now you'll notice I've got one artwork is those 3 pieces.
And one little lonely one.
And then one last one there. So let's add that guy on there too. Control T.
Okay.
Now I have one piece of artwork.
Nice.
And they're all connected together, hopefully going the way that I want them to go.
So how do you check that to make sure that it is
Okay.
stitching the way you want it to?
Excellent question. We are going to go over here to our preview. And I'm going to assign it stitches. Because I had it in artwork. It has to have stitches to be able to stitch it out.
Correct.
Okay, now I've got the stitch out button here. So I click on stitch out, and you can hit the play button over here, but that takes too long. So I like to use the scroll bar. And I'm going to click on the scroll bar, and I'm just going to pull it across and watch how it's going to stitch out. Notice there are no jumps,
Yeah.
because I got all of those pieces tied or connected together.
Perfectly. And I love that it stops and ends on a corner there. So you can, as you're placing this, I imagine when you put this in the block, you're going to rotate it so that those corners go there.
Exactly.
The pointing out corners, you're going to give it a quarter rotation. And
I'm actually going to do that right now.
okay.
So I'm going to go to Modify, and I'm going to rotate it. And I can rotate it whatever way I want. Right now my start and stops are going to be over here.
Okay.
If I want them in the top left, I could just rotate it 2 more times.
Nice.
Lovely. There's one other thing or a couple more things I want to do real quick.
Okay.
While I've got that design selected, I'm going to come up here to my transform button.
Okay.
And I'm going to change it to the size that I want.
Okay.
So I think about a 12-inch. And I'm just going approximate.
Okay.
Because when I actually take this over to the Pro Stitcher,
Right.
I'll do all the manipulating there.
Yeah. Make sure
Okay.
it actually fits.
Yep. Okay, so I've got it about the size that I want. And now I just want to see what it's going to look like on that block.
Oh.
So this is another fun
Audition
tool that
time.
we have. So I'm going to go to Tools, and we have a backdrop tool. Click on that, and I'm going to find a picture. Hopefully I bring up the right one. So there's a picture of my quilt.
Okay.
Now, ideally, I would like to have just a picture of the block straight on.
Yeah.
But this will work for now. Okay, so this is this block or this block. Those are both 9 patches. And I want to audition them. First thing I want to do is I want to make the background quilt a little bit lighter so I can actually see my design.
Smart.
And for viewers' purposes, I'm going to just change this back to artwork so that it's a little bit thicker line. I wouldn't normally do this at this point, but so we can see it better.
Oh, there we go. Now we can see it.
Excellent. Okay, so while I'm on my backdrop, I want to change this block so it's the right size.
Okay.
So I'm going to right-click and choose Define Scale.
Okay.
And I'll actually do this one up here so that it matches the one that's on our table.
It's on the table.
So I left-clicked on one corner, drug it across, and let go. Get my little pop-up, and I'm going to change that to 12 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to select my design, and I can drag it over. Let's see if we can find it on the quilt top. There it is. Drag it over there. And again, it's not going to fit perfectly or anything because my picture was not straight on. It's a little bit off. But that gives you kind of an idea of what that design is going to look like in that block.
I love it.
So I am really excited about stitching this one out. Okay, so I'm happy with what it looks like. I am going to go back again one more time and just give it the stitches since I took that off.
Okay.
And I need to save it now.
Right.
So I'm going to my File tab and Save. Get my little pop-up, and I need to name it. What should we name this guy? Loop-de-loop?
Blue loop-de-loop.
Blue loop. How do you spell loop-de?
Loop-de dash D-E dash L-O-O-P.
Loop-de-loop.
Here we go.
That works, and then it's going to say you can't have dashes in your thing. So we're going to just get rid of those dashes.
Okay.
Loop-de-loop.
Okay. I like it.
Perfect. Now I want to save it as a file type that I can actually stitch out. So the Inspiration series is the native file format for Designer. To stitch it out, I want to come down. I'm going to choose the HQV. And then I need to choose where I want it to save to.
Right. Always important.
Yeah. So usually I would save this as the Designer file on my computer, and then save it again as an HQV on a USB. So I'm just going to save it as the HQV onto a USB.
Okay.
So let's go back up to our computer. There's my USB. And I'm going to open it, and you guys can see all my fun stuff. I'm going to save it. Okay.
Awesome.
Now I'm just going to take my USB, take it over to my Pro Stitcher, and I can stitch it out on those blocks.
Awesome. Now, I just have a quick question for you.
Yes.
For any of our quilters out there who might be watching, if they don't have a Pro Stitcher, could they make this same design and then make it into, say, a stencil?
They definitely could.
So maybe you could just really quickly show the steps of how you would print it out.
Okay. So let me clear this backdrop. I'm just going to turn the view of the backdrop off so we can actually see our design here. Okay, so I've got my design. I can go to my File tab, and I can do Print, or I'm going to go to Print Preview so we can first see what it looks like.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so it's a very large block.
It is.
So it's going to print out on multiple sheets of paper.
Right.
And then you would just cut them and put them together as your stencil.
So if you click on the little arrow there at the top, you can actually see what will be on each page.
And it looks like the exact same thing because it is the exact same thing.
I know, it's the 4 pieces.
Yep.
And then there's the last one shows like
the entire design
the
on one
entire
page.
design.
Yep.
So.
Yep, so that would be 4 pages that you would print out to use as a stencil, and then 1 as the actual roadmap of the whole thing.
Perfect.
And then you would just hit your little print button and print it out.
Perfect.
Okay? So yeah, lots of options there. You're not limited by having computerized or not.
Yeah.
And the Designer program saves in all different formats for different long arm companies. And I'm super excited.
I am too.
I just want to go stitch.
I know. So, all right, well, let's take this over to the long arm and let's stitch out this design.
Okay.
So we're at the machine now. You brought the design over that it was on a USB that we just created in Designer, and we're ready to put it on this block. So what's the first step?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is pull this over just a little bit, find my handy dandy scissors. So I went through and basted the whole quilt, and I started taking out some of the basting, but you can see some of it still here. So I just snipped it, and I'm going to remove all of the basting in the section that I'm going to be stitching in. And then I will be ready to quilt. And I'm going to stitch or cut the thread underneath also so it doesn't get caught.
Oh, that's so good. You know, I have absolutely done quilts where I have pulled out the basting stitches on the top and I have forgotten to do it. And then when I get done, there's a little bit of some issues to deal with on the back of the quilt.
I should get under there and really trim it up nice, but we're going to play chicken.
I was going to say quick and dirty works for today, right?
Yeah, quick and dirty work, definitely. Okay, so I've got this block here. Now, we've previously shown how to do a block, bringing in a design from the Pro Stitcher library and putting it in here.
Right.
This time, though, I'm going to do it bringing it in from my USB.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go over here and look at our screen. File, Design, Open. Right now you can see I'm on the C drive. I'm going to collapse that down so that my D and E drives are available. I'm going to click on D. And those only show up if you have a USB in the ports in the back.
Right.
Okay, so the D drive is my USB. We named it Blue Loop-de-Loop, and we're going to open it.
I love that we said that in unison.
Loop-de-loop. Okay, so we're going to go through the same steps that we've done before, putting a block in. We're going to create our area. So I'm going to give myself just a tiny bit of wiggle room.
Okay.
So my needle's not all the way down to the very edge of the seam.
Okay.
And I'm going to go to my area tab and hit multi-point. Okay, then I'm going to move the machine across all the way to that other corner, hit multi-point. I might just drop one right there. Refresh. I'm going to do one more. Okay, so I've got my area there. Let's go with my tried and true modify skew, and we'll skew it in there. How's that look?
Oh, look at that. It fit perfectly.
I love when skew works so well like that. Okay, I'm going to baseline that. Now we are going to go Pro Stitcher. Quilt is already selected, and hit our run button. I'm going to move a little bit closer. We also have our options in Pro Stitcher Premium if we want to have the start turned on. Those are the tie-offs or the end separately. If you're working in Pro Stitcher Lite, you can either turn them both on or off together. Okay, let's go and hit the run button. I'm going to just check my settings. Let's see, how many stitches per inch do I have? I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to hit proceed. It's going to take my first stitch, pull up that bobbin. I'm going to hit resume, and we're going to see how it stitches. So what do you think?
It looks really good. I've noticed that you've used a thread that really blends a lot more. It doesn't stand out, but I think that's exactly what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, so it's hard to see on camera, but when I take it home and put it on my bed, it's not going to be obnoxious.
So if I move the camera in a little bit closer here, you guys can see the stitching all the way through. It looks great though. Your tension looks good, Kristina.
Oh, thank you. I wonder
Good
how it is on the back.
I think that's exactly what you're looking for though, right? You wanted to have a design that would completely fill the block. Now, here's my question for you. Are you gonna add a little anything extra to that, or you think that's what it's gonna be?
I think that's what it's going to be for this particular quilt.
Okay.
Since it is going to be a functional quilt.
Yes.
I don't want to quilt it to death.
Gotcha.
So I think that's how I'm going to leave it. I've got another 9 patch that I'll probably do that same design in.
Okay.
I've also got some smaller blocks that I'll probably do the designs that we showed at the on the computer.
Right. The
like
simpler.
The first one and then the second one.
Okay.
And then this was the 3rd variation. So yeah, so you can see how quick and easy it is to create your own design.
Yeah.
To fit the needs that you have.
Exactly.
So using those tools that are available. So
it's beautiful.
thanks.
Well, be sure to join us again for another episode in the next few weeks of what is happening with the Blues Quilt. We'll be moving on to the next block the next time. I shouldn't say we. You'll be moving on to the next block.
It could be rulers, it could be free motion, it could be
combination of everything.
So, yep, it's going to be fun. So keep an eye out for that.
Exactly. For more great quilting content, be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and have fun quilting.